Have you experienced the awesome power of the Panasonic Real 3DO system? Obviously.
Presenting 3DO, the most advanced home gaming system in the universe. It's time to put away your toys.
3DO from Panasonic, Gold Star, and Creative Labs. A new low price and free games.
Mind-blowing graphics of Panasonic Real 3DO. 3DO.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO retrospective podcast where we talk about the 3DO console, the company behind it, and everything in between. I'm Bill, and this is my co-host, Threk. How you doing, Threk?
Oh, I'm better than nothing. How are you doing, Bill?
Doing pretty good. I'm still kind of a little congested from last week. I had to take a whole day off of work because I actually couldn't get up in the morning one of the days. It was pretty bad.
Oh my goodness. Did you get to enjoy the day off at all, or was it just agony the whole day?
I basically spent the entire day just chilling, watching anime to catch up on some projects and stuff I'm working on because I was too tired and just felt like crap to actually do anything. So
I totally understand. I remember when I got COVID like a good year and a half ago. I was like, oh, I could maybe, use some of this free time to catch up on stuff. But I spent a lot of that time just in sheer agony. So didn't really get to, but it was what
I still somehow have never gotten COVID.
Well, the new Omicron variant seems to be running rampant. I've been seeing more and more COVID cases propping up recently, even from people who are vaccinated fully. So
yeah.
So this might be when you get it. And I known some people who it was like took them 3 years to get it. So
either that or I'm just asymptomatic and I've just never just haven't noticed.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, to be fair, I don't think you go outside that much, so you might be okay.
No, although I do work 10 hours a day, so
that's fair. Yeah, because my dad never got it, as far as I know, but my dad rarely, if ever, leaves the house. And funnily enough, I think my mom got it before lockdowns happened, because it was about January, February of 2020, and she just got really sick, out of the blue. And she doesn't get sick that often, but it was really bad. And looking back, it's it was all the COVID symptoms, but she got it before everybody else. And so she kind of went through everything fine. And I didn't get it till early 22. So
I've always had a super high immune system. So I think that might be partially why too.
Yeah. I don't get sick that often, but sometimes I'll just have a general state of just kind of, but I can make it through.
Yeah. I'm not super worried about it. I'm just going to kind of keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Funnily enough, when I did get COVID, it was, I had just decided to start playing Witcher 3, and I was playing through it, and I was really enjoying it on my Xbox. But when I got COVID, I just did not have the energy or the mental capacity to play it. So by the time I was healthy enough to start playing stuff again, I just couldn't do it. So I still haven't gone back and played it yet, which is a shame. I'd like to get back to it at some point.
I mean, I think the worst thing I've ever had in my life is Lyme disease. So
ate too many limes?
No, I got bit by a tick,
Happens to all of us.
Yeah. As long as it's not that Lone Star tick, because that would suck.
Oh, yeah. I've not heard good stories about that one. So
last thing I want is to not be able to eat red meat. So
yeah, is what it is.
Yeah. But other than that, it's been chill. Just trying to catch up on a bunch of shit.
Yep. Did you play the game for this week?
I did play a bit of our game, Theme Park.
Theme
Park. This one is interesting to me. So I guess a little backstory on Theme Park. It is a 1994 construction and management sim created by the company Bullfrog Productions.
Rest in peace.
The tragic tale of many studios killed by EA.
Yeah.
It was founded by Peter Molyneux. He's a man that's very prolific and also very controversial in the gaming industry in a lot of ways, I've noticed.
Wait, isn't his name Peter Molyneux?
Oh, maybe it's Molyneux.
I thought so.
See, the most I know about Peter Molyneux is like Guru Larry always makes fun of him in his videos.
I mean, there's a lot to make fun of Peter Molyneux for,
Yeah, I
but
mean, he's like a genius, but he's also like the king of like promising things that just never happened.
yeah. Because if our viewers aren't familiar, Peter Molyneux is most known for creating the Fable series for
Yes.
Xbox. A series of games I still need to sit down and give a proper playthrough of, and that's a series of games that is definitely known for its promising these like really advanced technological feats on like say the original Xbox, where it was almost like it had bits of like the Nemesis system in it,
Hmm.
or that it's like, oh, you could plant an acorn, and then later in the game like a whole tree would be there, but it's like they didn't really have the technology for that at the time. It would be neat if this Fable reboot that's in the works, if they actually can do some of that stuff, because I think the
So,
technology is there for it now.
so me and my buddy Matt, he's one of the server mods over on the GNC Discord server. We had before I moved up to Connecticut, we had actually started playing Fable 2, and Fable 2, I will say, is a very good RPG.
Yeah, I tried playing Fable 1 and I found it really difficult to get into because it had aged not the best, I think. But to be fair, I was playing it on the Xbox One, and I'm told the backwards compatible version on there isn't the best. Like it has a lot of like emulation issues, I think. But I'm told the Series X cleans up all those issues and it runs perfectly fine.
There's also the
So,
Anniversary Edition, which fixed a lot of problems the original had.
well, it's running the Anniversary Edition.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, that's the backwards compatible version on the One and Series consoles. But I guess on the One, it's kind of rough. But on like, I think the One X and going to the Series, it runs perfectly fine. I just have yet to test it. But I know
Gotcha.
Fable 2 and 3 run perfectly fine.
Hmm.
And I have played a bit of Fable 2, and I really liked what I played of Fable 2. It felt much more like a nice, streamlined action RPG that was really quirky.
Yeah, and they
Like
didn't. He didn't
that
promise all sorts of stupid bullshit either with that one.
No. I think by that point he realized what he had, and that the original Fable, like I think he had to overpromise so it would be kind of a hit, I think. But once it
Hmm.
became a hit, he didn't really have to do that anymore, and just made Fable 2, which is still regarded as probably one of the better action RPGs of its era. And
Hmm.
then Fable 3, which is a game that people seem to really hate. And I honestly don't know why, because I have yet to get a straight answer on the hate that people have for Fable 3. It's this like weird vitriol.
So what I've
That
learned
I
about
don't
Fable
get it.
3 is it's like people either they all there's people that do like it and then there's the people that hate it. But what I've noticed about the people that hate it is they always have a different reason, no matter depending on who you ask.
Yeah, like somebody told me that their biggest issue with it was just Fable 2 again. And I'm like, but Fable 2 was good, so what's the problem? And then, I've heard some other things like doesn't Fable 3 focus a lot on like city building?
Yeah, a little. I mean, I didn't have a problem with that because
Okay. Well, I haven't played Fable 3 at all, so I have no idea. I would like to get through the trilogy before the Fable reboot comes out, but safe bet that'll probably be to like late 24 at the earliest.
yeah,
So I have plenty of time to play through the Fable games. But until then, we can talk about theme park.
yeah, and
This,
Bullfrog Productions,
yes, yes, one of the many studios EA killed for reasons.
and
Or
also
they weren't really killed. They were kind of merged into, I think, was it the UK branch of EA?
yeah. So what happened with Bullfrog was they were independent up until '95, I want to say, but EA did publish a lot of their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In '95, they were acquired, and from what it sounds like, the reason why they let so basically like the reason why it took them forever to get acquired was because Peter Molyneux apparently was very protective of them and kept EA away.
Yeah, because
And
he left like not long after they got acquired, I think.
He left 2 years after the acquisition, so he left in '97, and then their quality fell off a cliff pretty quick after he left.
Yeah, because then he formed, was it Lionhead Studios
Yep.
to do Fable? I don't even think does Lionhead exist anymore.
No, he left Lionhead, and then that went under.
Yeah, and now he works at 22 Cans.
Yep, that's his new studio.
Yeah, some very like, as far as I could tell, the stuff they do is like very like kind of avant-garde shit, and like some with like kind of just reviews, like interesting ideas, but nothing that really comes through,
Now,
because
going
the last
back,
game they officially released was in 2016, and that's kind of been it.
yeah, it's kind of like he's just kind of doing whatever he wants now, kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, get this. Molyneux announced in December 21, I guess they have a game in limbo called Legacy, but he said it would incorporate blockchain-based elements, including NFTs, which will allow players to sell and purchase virtual goods as part of the business simulation gameplay. So
See, the problem is
tells me that game is dead in the water.
Yep. So the problem is he took too long, and no one gives a shit anymore. So
yeah, exactly. Like I think he just kind of killed his own reputation.
Well, I mean, his reputation was already kind of a mess to begin with, but
yeah, but I get the sense with Molyneux that when you surround him with a group of really talented people, he can get some good shit done. But he kind of needs to be steered in the right direction.
So the thing is, he's a great leader, but he's like, a leader's only so great when you're surrounded by a great army.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bullfrog was a really good studio for the time. Like their most famous game before, other than Theme Park, was probably Populous.
Okay.
Which was like a god game. They had a lot of these style of games. They also had Syndicate, which is another game that also was released on 3DO, which was like a real-time tactics game that used a similar engine to Theme Park.
Oh yeah, it's that weird RTS. It almost looks like was it XCOM?
Yeah, it's actually not a bad game. We might actually want to cover it at some point. But
okay.
Theme Park is one of their probably most iconic series, and Theme Park is interesting because I'm pretty sure it predates Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Oh yeah, because Roller Coaster Tycoon didn't come out until I think like 1998.
Yeah, it was later in the 90s. And Theme Park is actually really interesting. So it came out in 94 originally on MS-DOS and Amiga, and the 3DO. The 3DO was one of the original 3 versions of this game, and one of the few that was actually made by Bullfrog themselves.
Oh yeah, and it was on basically everything at the time.
Yeah, like there's some crazy ones. Like the Genesis had a port. The Sega CD and Amiga CD32X also got ports, but only in Europe. The Jaguar got a port. That's an interesting one. The Saturn and PlayStation as well. Even the SNES, although only in Japan and Europe.
Yeah, much late.
And even the DS in 2007, although that one is apparently a remake of sorts.
Yes. I know a little bit about the DS version because I think by that point, my guess is EA probably saw that the success of Roller Coaster Tycoon and was like, oh, we should probably, but there was a little gap because the original Roller Coaster Tycoon came out in 99. And then there was Roller Coaster Tycoon shortly after, and then Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 was in like the mid 2000s, and then there was quite a gap between major Roller Coaster Tycoon releases. I think there was some shakeup because it was originally like Frontier Developments that were making those games. Well, it was Chris Sawyer and then Frontier, and I think Atari like owns the license, so there was probably some issues going on with that.
Infogrames bought their license, and then of course, as most people know, Infogrames just pretends to be Atari now.
Yeah, exactly.
So the license is kind of just floating around there now.
Yeah, and Frontier was the original studio that had made like the older classic ones, whereas the modern ones are just kind of made by whoever.
So Frontier's first one was actually 3.
Okay.
Because I think Chris Sawyer did the first 2.
Yeah. I thought he had formed Frontier. Maybe
no, Frontier was a studio that came in later. They did make a couple expansions for 2 before they moved on to 3.
Okay.
Honestly, Frontier is a very fascinating studio in themselves.
Oh yeah, they're a really good studio.
They are.
There's also Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic, which is more of a modern sort of blending of Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2 that was done by Chris. for
Yes.
like Steam and everything, and I've played it. It's actually like really, really good. And yeah, according to his Wikipedia, he did help out on Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, but he was just like a consultant for it.
Hmm.
But beyond that, I get the sense that he was maybe closer to like a Sid Meier type, where he would just like kind of he doesn't necessarily put his names on the games, but I get the sense that like he just, when it comes to designing games, it's like, oh, who made this game? Chris Sawyer, like Sid Meier did
Yeah.
Civilization.
I mean,
I think
considering,
that's what he was going for,
yeah,
but not nearly as prolific.
considering that like Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 is considered the last good one, I assume that was the last one he actually had any involvement with.
Yeah, but at that point he was, I think, consulting Frontier, and maybe in a sense given them the keys to the franchise, but of course that didn't really happen. But Frontier nowadays, they have a Planet Coaster,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you've played Planet Coaster,
I
but
have.
Planet Coaster, it is fantastic.
It's just Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, but better.
It's basically a modern Roller Coaster Tycoon, and it is so easy to play. It has a shit ton of expansions and DLC. You can play it on all the consoles. In fact, I have it for my Xbox.
I have it
and
on PS5.
Yeah, and it plays perfectly well
Mm.
on console. It has a really good sense of humor. I like the style to it. It is fantastic. Like if you want to play if you want to play like a roller coaster management sim, like that's the one you play.
Yeah.
But they've also done like, I think it's the Jurassic World Evolution series,
They did
which I'm told is
Thrillville.
really good. They did Thrillville. They did Scream Ride, Elite Dangerous. They did that as well.
Planet Zoo. That's their new one coming out.
Zoo Tycoon as well. They did some. They did the Connect Disneyland Adventures game, which I'm told is one of the better Connect games.
They did F1 Manager. That's an interesting new one.
And they're working on the first Warhammer Age of Sigmar game.
And don't forget about their two greatest games, the two Wallace and Gromit platformers.
Games. Yep, I knew you were going there.
Those actually aren't bad.
I've played the GameCube one. It's all right.
I mean, for a platformer made by a studio that only makes sim games, that's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah. But like, if you think about it, Frontier are probably the management sim developer. They're the ones you go for.
They're like the true successor to like Maxis and Bullfrog, honestly.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that. It would be interesting to see them like tackle Civilization, but I don't think they'll ever get to do that because 2K kind of has a nice solid chokehold on it.
Yeah,
or even The Sims. Like, imagine if Frontier did SimCity.
So
that would be amazing.
Well, Paradox kind of beat them to it with City Skylines, and City Skylines is phenomenal. So.
Yeah, I'm told City Skylines is really good. I was never a big SimCity guy because I feel like those get a little too complex for me.
Oh, SimCity 4 in particular is insane.
Yeah, because what I like about like Roller Coaster Tycoon or Planet Coaster is that it doesn't really get into the nitty gritty of like actually making a park. Like there is some complexity to it, but it's not like it's easy to get into it, Like it doesn't have all these like deep systems or all this like real complex shit you have to worry about. You can just kind of like, just build coasters or just, make little paths to them and you'll do just fine. You know what I mean?
Paradox is actually taking their hand at making a Sims successor as well now.
Well, that'd be nice to see because EA has essentially killed that brand as well.
Yeah,
which
I mean, Sims 4 has gotten better, I will say.
Yeah, well, Sims 4 is now, I think, free to play. So
the base game, yes.
Yeah, so if you want to do that, I mean, I have fond memories of the original Sims on PC.
Sims 2 is still one of the best Sims ever made.
See, I've barely tackled any Sim game outside of the original on PC. That soundtrack lives rent free in my head.
I love the Sims soundtrack.
Oh, it's so good. But all of that stuff can be traced back to theme park.
In a way,
theme park
yes.
was, as far as I know, the first like roller coaster, amusement park management sim. As far as I know,
the two companies that were most responsible for this genre were basically Bullfrog and Maxis, because Maxis had a SimCity already under their belt by this point.
Yeah, but SimCity, as far as I know, didn't have any like roller coaster stuff in it.
No, they were Sims. So the Maxis was more into doing like more like kind of run of the mill, kind of like real world style Sims.
Yeah, like Build a Town.
Like Sim Ant, that's an interesting one.
SimAnt is really interesting, and it's weird to think that like some people still say the best Sim City is the one Nintendo made, or
Which one was?
The Super Nintendo one.
Oh, Sim City. Yeah, I mean that's a good one.
They developed that game.
They
Like
did.
Nintendo got the license and just made it. And you can tell it has that sort of Nintendo-ness to it. That it's still a sim game, but it just has that little Nintendo flair to it that makes it stick out from the crowd.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time with, I think it was SimCity 3000, I think.
Yes, or
And
2000 and 3000 are both very good.
yeah, but that's like when it's like dealing with like all the water pipes and
Yeah,
like
where it gets
trying
too
to make
complicated.
electrical lines, and I'm just like, fuck out of here with that. Like an 8-year-old, if an 8-year-old can figure that shit out, they're a genius. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But going back now to theme park.
yeah, theme park. I wanted to like this more.
It's
but
very much. So I will say, like, before we get super into it, this game is very much a product of its time.
yes. When I think of it, I think of like growing pains for like theme park management sims. You know, like they had to start somewhere, and I don't think this game is bad. I don't.
No.
Like for its time, for 94, for 95, like it's pretty fucking good. But
And they transferred the controls very well to the 3DO, which I was actually really surprised by.
Yeah, absolutely. But once like Roller Coaster Tycoon came out, it completely obsoletes this game. 100%, because Roller Coaster Tycoon, even the original, even if you play it now, it still holds up. Like it's very easy to understand. Making coasters is pretty, simple. The 2D art that they go for with the isometric camera still looks great to this day. And I guess I'm not a psychopath because I never tried to murder people with roller coasters, which apparently everybody did back in the day. I had no idea. I just tried to build a nice theme park, I guess. But like, yeah, the Roller Coaster Tycoon series still holds up. Like even 3, which looks like ass, like looks like like a mid-level PS1 game in terms of the graphics, but it's still like a lot of fun.
When they ported Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 to Switch, I played that for like a month straight just because it is such a fun game.
Yeah, I have like 30 or 40 hours in it, and most of that is just like me and my son. We just opened up sandbox mode, and I would just be like, "Oh, and I would just ask him, "What do you want to build?" And he's like, "Oh, let's do this ride." And he would just I would have him tell me where he wanted to put things, and then we would put things and kind of set it up, and then we would turn. What I loved about 3, and I think Planet Coaster does this as well. Like you can ride the ride essentially. Yep. And so I would get him in like the one of the water like tube slides, and he would just sit there for like 10-15 minutes just staring, just going back and forth through watching it. It would just mesmerize him, and he still really enjoys it. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's not necessarily it's not my preferred management sim, but I mean, if you have a Switch, it's probably the best one, because I don't think Planet Coaster's on Switch.
No, it's not. It's a little bit too powerful for the Switch to handle.
If you have like a PlayStation or Xbox, play Planet Coaster. That game is fucking gorgeous. Like eventually, I will probably put like 100 hours into it, but I just haven't had the time. But that's a game I would like to play more in an off and on setting, kind of like I did with Power Wash, because I'm kind of done with Power Wash at the moment. Like I've cleaned everything, but I know more DLC's coming for it, so I'm just kind of waiting for that to come out so I can do that. So Planet Coaster could fill that void for me eventually. But should we compare theme park to a Planet Coaster? I feel like that's probably unfair. But even if you compare it to Roller Coaster Tycoon, which was only like 5 years later, it's amazing how far they got with the technology for doing a game like this.
Oh yeah.
Because my biggest issue with theme park is it's kind of complex, and it doesn't really do the best job of explaining everything to you.
Yes, that was a big. So this game is like very trial and error heavy, where you kind of have to just experiment around with shit and just kind of see what works.
Yeah, like I have the big box version for 3DO, which is probably my favorite big box in terms of the front cover art. Like I love like everybody listening, look up the 3DO cover art for Theme Park. I
Well,
love
it'll be
how
in
it
the
looks.
thumbnail for the episode. So,
Yeah, like I love that design. Like I would hang that shit on my wall. It
like the
looks really
planet
cool.
with like the theme park logo and like the
Yeah.
sun in the background. It's a cool
Yeah.
design.
Yeah, like I like the theme park logo, the 3DO logo in the corner is really nicely placed, and and it's really inviting. And I remember when I first saw this game, it made me go like, "Oh, it's like Roller Coaster Tycoon." I'll be, I was excited to sit down and like play this, and I kind of like I have the manual and I thumb through that a little bit to try to figure it out. But I found when I was playing it, it was very frustrating because I
Yeah.
wasn't quite sure what I was doing.
When I was playing this game, my big like thought the whole time was kind of like I was kind of like thinking like I can see exactly why this is such an acclaimed game, but at the same time I'm like once you play like a more modern interpretation like say Roller Coaster Tycoon, you just immediately notice how flawed the original this idea was because when you think about it, they didn't really know what they were doing yet at this time. So they were kind of the guinea pigs for this concept of a game.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if any of the later versions of Theme Park are any better. Like I'm
Yeah.
curious I'm curious to that DS version
Okay, so
because
that's a different thing. This game does have sequels. We'll get to those at the end, though.
okay, cuz I imagine cuz something like a Sim City or something, I feel like that's perfect for the DS. I know there is a Sim City on the DS, but something like a roller coaster tycoon game not coming to the DS really feels like a missed opportunity.
I think there is one actually.
I mean, as far as I know, it's just theme park. And it feels like the only reason they revived theme park for the DS was because there was kind of a void, and they're like, "Oh, we'll do that because like using the stylus to move stuff around seems perfect." Again, I haven't played that version, so I can't say, but it just makes way too much sense to me.
Oh, there is. Okay, so it's not a DS one; it's a 3DS game. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, is a 3DS roller coaster tycoon?
Yeah, there's Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D, which was basically they just took they took Roller Coaster Tycoon 3's engine and just made a half-assed kind of like game with it.
Oh,
It's not
that
particularly good.
yeah, that sounds disappointing because yeah, they've completely ruined the roller coaster tycoon IP, which is such a shame.
Yeah. So one thing about theme park though, looking at it though, that I did appreciate was I do actually really find the graphics charming.
Yes, I love how this game looks. It's very, very like '90s quirky, but
Hmm.
but almost in like a family friendly way. Like it screams 1994, but
Yeah.
not like in a Ren and Stimpy way. More in a like a '90s PBS way, I guess.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite things is like when you're building like say like concession stands, how like the burger joint is literally just a giant burger that you just
Yeah,
put in your
yeah.
park.
Yeah, and a lot of that carries over in the Roller Coaster Tycoon as well. Just sort of
Hmm.
that like that sort of amusement park design philosophy of making things like as eye catching as possible. But I
Yeah.
think in theme park, it's harder to make everything consistent.
Yes.
Just limited, assets. Um, and if I remember, it's like a long time in theme park till you actually get to build your first roller coaster
Yeah.
because when you're like building stuff, they give you like one ride. Like it's forever till you. For me anyway, it was a long time till I unlocked just being able to have a restroom.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it was I was constantly looking at my customers like in their happy and sad meters, and they were like most of them were dissatisfied, and I was trying to figure out why, and they would say like certain little things that I would try to fix, but it didn't seem to help, and I was constantly adjusting the prices of everything,
Hmm.
because like I would make my original idea was you make the entrance fee kind of low, and then it's usually how I do it in Tycoon. Like you make the entrance fee kind of low, but you make the prices of everything else in the park a little bit higher. Because it makes more sense. Like once they're there, you get their money, right?
Yeah. I,
But it was constantly saying like, oh, you should raise the price of the park because people would be willing to pay that, and then I would like just a little bit, And then they'd say, "Oh, you need to keep doing it." I'd raise it a little bit more. Then they're like, "Oh, it's too much." So I'd lower it back down. But it's hard to find like a really like a middle ground in theme park. It feels like it's either too much or too little of anything. You
Yeah,
know,
the logistics and management system in this game is very, I won't say it's awful, but it's very kind of like mid. I want to say like it clearly was not as well developed as like Roller Coaster Tycoon or even SimCity like would be with their management systems.
it's very Molyneux.
Yes.
Because I think their idea behind that, if I had to guess, was if you have everything kind of like if you know what you're doing and have everything kind of set up, then it could be just kind of boring sitting there and watching it go. So maybe their
Yes.
thinking was, oh, something always needs to be happening. But the joy you get in a roller coaster tycoon is once you have everything set up, you can just kind of chill there and just watch it happen and just kind of enjoy it almost like in a fish tank kind of
Yes.
sense, right? And then eventually something will happen and then you attend to it. But theme park, I think it's trying too hard to be an active game when really these type of games are, if anything, passive. Like there's a lot of activity at the start, but then there are these long kind of passive periods. And I think that's what people like about them, you know?
Yeah. Something I found about Theme Park 2 was like I feel like it was trying extra hard to not be realistic. Like
To a point.
yeah, cuz like unlike Roller Coaster Tycoon, which I feel like has a better mix between like realism and wackiness, this game I felt like was trying to be really wacky at times, but also like would like rein it in randomly at other points.
Yeah, in some ways, but then it's like you're looking at all these menus and they're like really complex and you're seeing all these like bar like line graphs and all these like numbers and
Yeah.
it's like what does this even mean? And then there's like a weird mini game where you try to like make deals with people
Hmm.
with like the handshake thing, which is very weird. Um and that one's it I don't know really know why they have that. I think it was just to give it something a little different, I think, but
That was the first of its kind. I think they were just trying stuff.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's funny that the back of the box has like a 3D image of like a dog riding a coaster, and I think it's trying to like give you the impression that you can ride the coasters. As far as I know, you can't.
Not in
But
this one.
okay, I assume it's in later ones then. Um,
Yes.
yeah, because there is that like 3D intro for this game, which looks like kids' toys
Yeah.
riding like
It looks like
carousels.
most 3DO intros, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's so like blocky and almost like it just looks really weird to me. It looks the closest comparison I could make it to is it looks like I don't know how many of our viewers shop at Kroger, but like the weird Kroger cartoon toy mascot things they have these days, like they kind of look like that, And whenever I see them, I kind of hate them. But I know for theme park, they're just trying to, I think, having a theme. They're not trying to go for realism because they can't achieve it. So why bother?
I'm just
And it's,
laughing because Kroger's don't exist up in New England.
I'm sure they've probably bought one of your grocery chains and they are a
Probably.
Kroger and you just don't realize it.
We're all
Yeah,
Walmarts up here. And like,
I mean, Walmart's everywhere, but I don't really go in Walmarts.
I haven't been in there's only one Walmart near me and it's like so far out of the way I don't bother.
Yeah, like I used to go there for video games, but you know, it's not as good as it used to be. Anyways, but yeah, with theme park, I think that sort of not going for a realism look has kind of carried with like Tycoon and Planet Coaster. Like they're like, let's go for like an exaggerated kind of cartoony look because it'll be more appealing. And I think it works for what it's trying to accomplish. Because if you were just making like a hard realistic sort of roller coaster like amusement park game, I don't think it would be as interesting.
So there's one on the Dreamcast called Coaster Works, which is basically just making roller coasters in a semi-realistic fashion.
Yeah.
It's not bad, but it is very much a you play it once and then you kind of just forget about it kind of game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Did you mess
I didn't
around
even
with?
know about that game.
Yeah, it's one of the few Dreamcast games I've picked up that's somewhat unique.
Yeah.
Um,
Wasn't what was it called? Like Railroad Tycoon? Was that on there?
I don't think it was on the Dreamcast.
Okay, because those are games I think are meant to be more realistic. I think.
Yeah, especially Railway Tycoon 3. But those
Yeah,
weren't made by the same studios. The Tycoon franchise is weird because it's like not connected at all to any of them. They just kind of,
they just like the word tycoon
yeah.
because it's a unique word that they can use. So
Did you mess around with Sandbox at all?
the sandbox mode in theme park, I
Yeah.
did not.
I did for a little while. It's for the time it was probably fun, but it's very boring with this
Yeah.
game's mechanics.
To be fair, the menus were so confusing that I may have overlooked sandbox mode without realizing it because I
So
actually
it's
didn't
weird.
know
You
it
can
had
like
one.
switch between normal mode and sandbox mode on the fly.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's weird. Like you can be playing like if you get like frustrated like with your map, you can just switch to sandbox mode and just do it without all the bullshit. It's funny.
Yeah. I mean, I never really like ran out of money or anything. I never
Yeah,
had those issues.
it wasn't as bad as like Sim City where like you're always broke.
Yeah. Or like Roller Coaster Tycoon, if you're not doing a real good job, you can run out of money pretty quickly on that if you're
Oh yeah.
fucking up. But what's nice about it is you can bounce back from that pretty quickly.
Hmm.
You know, whereas here, like I don't know, maybe I was doing it just fine. I never really seemed to run out of money. Just my big issue seemed to be like customer satisfaction. Like I couldn't, get it. But it was so weird. It was like so many people were against or were like dissatisfied, but they just kept showing up or they would just stay.
Yeah. I just find that
So
funny.
weird to me.
They're
Yeah.
just all masochists. They're like, this sucks, but I'm going to stay anyways because I paid for it.
I mean, I guess. But it was weird. They never complained it was too expensive. They would just always complain about other random things. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
It's very weird.
it's kind of sad because it's like I had so many like expectations to talk about a whole bunch of things, but after playing it, I was kind of like, it's really not a whole lot to say because it's such a product of its time that it's like I could go like deep in depth, but like who cares in reality? That's the thing.
Like it's surprisingly bare bones.
Yes, and which
that
thinking about it kind of makes sense because it's the first one, but at the same time, you're kind of like for the amount of praise this game gets.
I mean, I think a lot of the praise stems from like of the time.
Yes,
Like if I was playing this on my DOS computer in 1994, right, as a newborn fetus, I'd probably be like, this is awesome, you know, because at the time there was nothing like it.
Mm.
And
It's like the first time playing The Sims or like Sim City. You just like get enamored by it.
yeah, like the early ones, it's a you had to be there kind of thing. Like these games don't age the best, especially because technology just improves and these things just kind of fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could imagine for its era being like a real high quality game.
Then the fact that like the 3DO port like doesn't feel hindered by being on a console at all, like a lot of these games tended to do.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, it would be better played on a mouse.
Oh yeah.
Moving everything around with a D-pad is a little bit annoying, but you make it work. You make it work. It's not like say Planet Coaster, which is its controller support is very smooth, and the radial menus, which seems to be a theme with all of these, having those little circle menus. But that's all very well optimized for using it with a controller. And I imagine like for my Series X, if I plugged in a mouse and keyboard, I could probably get support for it, but I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it plays just fine.
So looking into reception for this game, it's really funny because like all the PC like DOS like reviews are like 90s, like 80s.
Yeah. And I get why. Like this would be one of the premier PC games of its era.
What's funny to me is there's only one 3DO review, and it's from Next Generation, and they just lumped the 3DO review with the Jaguar review and just gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. And I'm like I'm thinking like, I'm trying to find this actual review, and apparently they just gave it that because they were expecting a better, something more interesting on 3DO because it was a quote unquote new console.
I mean, I could see putting the Jaguar and 3DO versions together because they're probably the exact same game.
So I looked at a comparison of all the different versions just to see, and I'm pretty sure this game is just identical on everything.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like it's that powerful of a game to run.
Yeah,
Like that's probably how they were able to get it on the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, no problem as well.
yeah. I mean,
So,
it's
and I've played the Genesis version, and it's, I mean, it graphically isn't as nice, but yeah, it's theme park, all right.
hmm,
It has a really cool box art for it as well for the Genesis.
it does. There's some fun ones. Honestly, the PC box art is probably the least interesting. It's just them on the roller coaster.
Yeah, yeah, that just looks like it's out of like a children's book.
Um, so I guess we should talk before we move on to our final rankings. We should talk about the what happened after theme park.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
So it had a thematic successor, which was Theme Hospital, which is actually a really fun. Believe it or not, this is a really fun like hospital simulator game because it's wacky as shit. It's
Well,
probably it's probably dated as fuck though compared to like when it's probably just like theme park. It's probably dated by today's standards, but I remember playing it back in the day and being like, "This is stupid but fun."
I just love the idea of it's a hospital, but there's like a wacky theme in it. And it's like, it's not even like a children's hospital. It's just a regular one, but it's like, oh, there's like wacky art on the walls or something.
So what's funny is Theme Hospital came out and Maxis actually made a competitor called Sim Hospital.
Yeah.
But Sim Hospital is like this super sterile, like basically like realistic hospital simulator that's like super boring because it's like real life.
Yeah.
And then Theme Hospital is just this goofy ass like hospital simulator that's actually fun.
Yeah.
That was one of the few times that I think Theme Park won. Well, the Bullfrog won over Maxis.
Yeah, because I think what like the premier hospital sim game is what 2 Point Hospital.
Yeah.
And that's from what I've seen of it, it goes for a more cartoony aesthetic as well.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, like a hospital sim doesn't look like it's for me. I don't know.
No.
I find it kind of morbid.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, like it's like if they did like a 2 Point game, but it's like managing a funeral home,
Mhm.
which I would actually play. That's so out there. I'd be like, I kind of have to play that, but I'm sure one exists because they also they also did 2 Point Campus,
Yes.
which sounds like that'd be more fun. But yeah, I guess
So-
2 Point are very new.
As for official sequels, there was 2 sequels to Theme Park. There was Theme Park World, which released in '99 for PC, PlayStation, and PlayStation 2. The reason why most people in America don't remember this game is because for some odd reason it was released over here as Sim Theme Park.
Sim Theme Park.
So EA had owned
They owned both
Bullfrog
at
by
the
this point,
time.
and The Sims was more popular, so they just stuck the Sim name on it.
Which is very weird. I've never seen this game before. Like,
It's not good.
I hate it. I hate its cover art. I hate this one screenshot I see of it. I hate everything about this.
So if
This looks
anyone's
awful.
seen the YouTuber Brutal Moose, he did a whole review on this game, and I recommend watching that because it's pretty much perfect to explain why this game kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Then they did like some other. They did what, it was Theme Park Inc. or something.
So the final game was Theme Park Inc., or known as Sim Coaster over in America.
Sim Coaster. I kind of hate the name Sim Coaster. Like that just sounds like you're trying to force it, you know? Like theme park sounds so much better.
I believe this one, like Bullfrog, was pretty much already dying at this point because Climax actually helped finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had merged into EA UK shortly after this.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of these 2 games were able to compete with Theme Park or even Theme Hospital in terms of like success.
Or probably even Roller Coaster Tycoon, because by this point,
by then Roller Coaster Tycoon was just stomping on them.
yeah, it was kind of it was taking everything by storm.
And
then looking at Climax's like gamography, it's all over the fucking place. Oh my God.
Climax is a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But
nothing like the holy shit, they assisted on Returnal.
Yep.
Wow. And then they did a game called Crayola Scoot.
Yep. They also made Resident Evil Origins.
That they did. That they did. I'd known they did that already. Oh,
Hmm.
they also did Shattered Memories.
Yep.
That's a good game.
Origins is a good game. Honestly,
Oh, they did the Rocket Knight like XBLA game. That's bad. They did the PC port of Viva Pinata for some reason.
they've done a lot.
Nicktoons Unite, but the
Ugh.
GBA and DS versions of those.
Even worse.
Yeah. They did the other Crash and Burn.
Oh,
It all
full
comes back
circle.
around. Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
One last thing though on Theme Park World and Theme Park Inc. One interesting note is you were actually able to ride the rides like similar like before Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 introduced that.
Yeah.
Only it's boring because the rides move at like they barely move. It's really bad. But
Yeah,
it's a
'cause at least
thing.
Yeah, because at least with Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, yeah, you can ride the rides, and it's about what you would expect. It's nothing too crazy.
Well, Roller Coaster
I
Tycoon 3 also lets you won't let you finish a ride unless it actually will function.
They knew at that point. Which is
Yes.
smart of them to do. But also, like Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 adds like you can add like a bunch of water park attractions as well, which I think Theme Park lets you do those as well.
Not as in depth, but yes, they did have
Yeah,
some.
like tube rides and things like that. Because I hadn't unlocked those because I put a couple hours into this, but I didn't unlock those because when you start, you will like unlock other like rides and attractions as you go, but there becomes like a certain point where you have to now start putting money into your research in order to
Yes.
get more. But again, the game doesn't tell you. So how was I supposed to know? Until I just was like fumbling around in the menus and discovered that. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should put some money into that. And then I did. And then I started getting more stuff.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that makes this game very much a period piece for what like the early simulation games were.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that the Japanese version's called Shin Theme Park.
Yeah. That's fun.
Shin Megami Theme Park.
Look out for more.
Get on it, Atlas.
All right. So I guess moving on to our rating segment, must play, stay away, okay. I'm not gonna lie, this isn't okay, and that's mostly just because of the fact that it's not a bad game, but it's also so dated it's not really worth playing nowadays.
Yeah, I would put it between stay away and okay, like right in the middle.
Okay.
Where if you're interested, by all means go for it. But if you're genuinely looking for a theme park sim experience, I would just say play Planet Coaster. That game is kind of amazing.
Or even like Roller Coaster Tycoon 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I think you can get Roller Coaster Tycoons 1, 2, and Classic on Steam. 1 and 2 I think are pretty cheap. And Classic goes for a little bit more, but it's like a modern sort of like putting the two of them together that was done by Chris himself. So, you have a lot more options for that. Even a game like what's it called, Park Attacked, I think, where that's also like a theme park coaster game, but it has like some mod support and everything. So you have a lot better options for that stuff nowadays than a theme park. So I would say it's if you're curious, go for it. You probably won't have a horrible time with it, but if you're looking for a genuinely good theme park sim, there are better options.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame that EA will never do anything with this series ever again because they do not see any point.
Yeah. The thing with this game is it is very much a piece of gaming history that should be appreciated, but I don't think it needs to be experienced. Especially like, don't go out of your way to play this on 3DO. If you really need to play this, just play it on PC. It's probably cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. You could probably get the PC version of this on like myabandonware.com or something like that. So
it's probably on GOG for all we know.
You know what? I'm gonna find out right now. Live to us. Let's see. Shocker, cyberpunk right in my face. Theme park. Yep, there it is.
Yep.
It is on GOG for $6, and I think for $6 you could do a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean it's
And it's probably better on PC as well, because even on 3DO, like the menus are very much made for PC, and they don't really optimize them
no.
for the console. So a lot of times I got confused because I wasn't quite sure which button to push.
Yeah,
So
especially on the 3DO controller.
yeah, and again, the game doesn't do a good job of telling you things, which is its main issue is that the tutorial is very like, oh, here's like just the bare minimum, like, oh, here's how you make a ride, here's how you make a path from the main path, here's how you set prices, and like that's it. And they're like, go for it, kid. And there's no like help section to where it explains things to you. If you have the manual, you can kind of go through that and it helps you out a little bit more, but even then the manual isn't as detailed as it should be.
Nope.
But yet with something like Roller Coaster Tycoon, the game, like the menus I thought were so much more optimized and so much more well like thought out, because this is a menu game. You're going to spend most of the game in the menus, so the menus need to be, clearly laid out and, easy English, basic to understand for just about anybody. And I think I think theme park kind of falls short on that. So
yes. And also one final thing, their memory manager, no. So
nope,
you're still searching.
Yeah, which I think this one probably would have worked for that.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, so that you can, like make new parks, or like, oh, I want to save this park and put it to the side. I want to try like a new one, because you have like it gives you like the whole world map to select like all these different areas to like set up your theme park, but I don't think it really changes like the map or plot of land they give you, as far as I know.
I will say, because this game was based off of an existing game and already had like a design, the menus aren't as fucking stupid as most 3DO games are, so that's a plus.
Yeah. Like at least with say like Roller Coaster Tycoon, when you selected the other maps, there was a lot of more different land, like different, like weird elevations and nature. And I like how the game gives you options to either excavate that, adjust it, or just kind of work around it. And you can make some really wacky stuff with that. But theme park, it just gives you like a flat plot of land to just kind of figure it out, which makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's very much, I guess, like just the kind of, like we've said it multiple times, but it's very much like it walked so others could swim, I guess you could say.
Yeah, basically. Like I wouldn't use theme park as like a basis for if you're going to like these games or not.
No, this is kind of a...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, this game is very much a game for like diehard fans of the genre.
Yeah, or if you're just like ungodly curious, Yes. So, there you go. So yeah, like, in fact, just out of curiosity, let's see what Roller Coaster Tycoon's going for right now on the Steam. It might be on sale. Let's see. The complete edition of 3 is $20. The triple thrill pack of 2 is $10. Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic is $20. Is that all they have? They also have the deluxe edition of World, but who wants to play that?
Yeah, that's a stay away.
Oh, and the Roller Coaster Tycoon Deluxe, the original, is $6. So I would say personally, if you're curious to the genre in general, Roller Coaster Tycoon Deluxe on Steam. It normally is $6, but of course it could always go on sale for like $2. That's probably, that's what I started with, and I was able to figure it out. So I would say go for that. If you want something a little bit more modern, Planet Coaster is available right now on Steam. It's $45. I would maybe wait for a sale for that one, because I bought it on Xbox for like $15.
Yeah.
So if you want a bit more of a modern experience, but yeah, I know it sounds like I'm saying stay away from theme park. It's just maybe come to it later if you're curious to these type of games. Check other places. There are much better examples nowadays.
Yeah, it's not a stay away because it's bad. It's a stay away just because it's just you don't need to play it anymore.
Exactly.
But yeah, so what should we play next week?
You know, that's a good question. I mean, I did just get the Mad Dog McCree pack for Wii.
I
And
feel like that
those,
one might need a bit more time to cook, though, just because I think Casey actually said he wanted to join us for that one.
oh, I'm down for that. I'm down for a guest.
So I got to reach out to him. Do you want to do Madden FIFA next week?
Let's do it.
I mean, football season did just start, so
It did. And
it's timely.
I'm ready to blow my Madden load all over these people.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do is we'll do Madden and FIFA, and then we'll save PGA Tour for like a triple where we'll
For
talk
golf.
about.
Yeah, golf should be its own separate thing.
Yeah, so we'll talk about PGA Tour,
Yeah,
Pebble Beach, and Wicked 18.
Yeah. Next week is football, everybody.
Yeah,
both
American and
football.
European.
We're doing all the football.
I'm actually
Get
looking forward to
ready.
this because I don't really care for either sport, but the 3DO versions are really good. So,
See, I care about American football, but you'll all find that out next week.
yep. All right. Well, anyways, guys, once again, thanks for joining us on the 3DO Experience. You can find the 3DO Experience on all the major podcasting platforms. You can find all of our links on Linktree/The Barb Who Games. And if you want to join the GNC Podcast Discord, can't talk. If you want to join, yeah, if you want to join the GNC Podcast our Discord server, you can find that via our Linktree, and it's a wonderful place of weird shit.
Oh, yeah.
And with that, guys, we will see you all next time.
Bye-bye.
If you're not playing on a 3DO system, what are you playing with?